Hey, welcome back. Debating. I'm debating. All right, so we're gonna see. Kaitlan Collins presses Trump's border czar on Abrego Garcia. I don't want to say his name wrong. So it's the dude that's trapped in the prison down in El Salvador. Subscribe, turn on post notifications, and let's get it. Let's go. I'm curious.
My source tonight has spent decades working on immigration enforcement, serving as a top ICE official under President Obama, and now serving as President Trump's border czar. Tom Homan, welcome back to the show. It's great to have you. We heard from President Trump today, essentially telling reporters...
Well, did you hear that? He served as the top ICE executive under Obama. I keep telling you, Obama and Trump kind of wanted the same things. It's kind of clear. But this is the border czar. Let's see.
Reporters talked to the lawyers when he was asked about Judge Boasberg's ruling that probable cause exists to hold officials in criminal contempt, potentially for violating his orders. Do you think that any of your colleagues have violated orders here?
No, I don't. I think we follow the judge's order. I think we'll let that litigate in court. No, DOJ is fighting that in court, but I don't think we did anything wrong.
And so you're not...
You rejected the judge's order. That's... wow.
Worried about any of the conversations when it came to Judge Boasberg saying turn the deportation flights around, and yet they continued to make their way to El Salvador?
Well, you know, I think the information shows those planes are already in international water as far as I know. So I don't think we did anything wrong. According to his written order, I think we did everything by the numbers.
And Siri, you're not ultimately worried here that anyone will be held in contempt or anything like that as they continue this fact-finding investigation overall on this effort?
No, I'm not concerned about it. I mean, fact-find all they want. I think the evidence is clear. I think DOJ's made a strong case, and we'll let it play out in court. I mean, as I sit here today talking to you, I don't think anybody in the administration did anything wrong. I don't think we actually violated a court order.
So we have two judges here. That's Judge Boasberg's ruling that we found yesterday that the president was asked about. The other judge here, the federal judge in Maryland, Judge Zinnes, has been criticizing the government this week for what she says is doing, quote, nothing to return Kilmar Abrego Garcia to the United States. Are you personally aware of any steps that have been taken to facilitate his return to the United States?
Look, I think he's a citizen of El Salvador. He's in El Salvador. He's home. He's an illegal alien with a final order of removal. He's a MS-13 member, which is now classified as a terrorist. So we removed an illegal alien, MS-13 member, who has a final order of removal issued by an immigration judge to his homeland.
I'm curious to know, like, with the final remove order, can the president make that decision to make it a final remove order? Or was he actually under a final remove order? I'm curious, but not going that deep into it, because I know there's laws that are breaking here that he's like they're talking around the whole concept of the fact the judge gave you an order to turn the plane around, you didn't. The judge is giving you an order to go get him back, you're not trying to. The excuse you're making is that they're already in El Salvador and they're a citizen. But if he was here legally, he should be expedited back to have a trial. Like, it doesn't sound like he went through a due process. And they're saying he didn't go through a due process. They put him on a plane and shipped him off. There was no due process within that. So they are breaking the law to a degree, but it goes into a bunch of different places, man.
So should I read that as to say nothing has been done to bring him back to the United States? That's what it sounds like.
I can't speak to everybody in the administration. I can just tell you what my stance is, and I think we did the right thing. I think he's where he should be, and the order of withholding that everybody keeps talking about, order of withholding is you set aside because he's a designated terrorist, which order withholding is meaningless, I believe, according to the attorneys. And look, even if he came back, people think he's going to be released and go back to... No, he's going to be detained, and he's going to be removed as per the order of removal, either to El Salvador or another country. So this person has an order of removal. He's seen two different immigration judges, and he's been ordered deported. That's exactly what happened.
I'm glad you brought that up, because that withholding removal order essentially said the one place he can't go is El Salvador, where he's from. He claimed that he was concerned he could be persecuted if he was returned. Why not simply have him return to the U.S., detain him, and then deport him to a third country. Wouldn't that be in accordance with the law?
I think we're in accordance with the law. I mean, I'm not an attorney. I'm not DOJ fighting this case, but my opinion, in the years I spent doing this job, he is now designated a terrorist. The withholding order is set aside. And we got to remember, the withholding order was issued years ago. Things have changed. El Salvador is one of the safest countries in the region because of the steps President Bukele take. You know, the gangs are no longer operating on the streets of Venezuela, in El Salvador. That's why he built that prison. So I don't think the gang danger that they once thought was there is even there anymore. So the situation has changed. It's much like temporary protected status, TPS. That's only temporary. When the conditions in the country have changed, TPS can be ended and they can be removed to the country.
Dang, they have found every way around that. First, you call him a gang member. Then you admit that he was here for the safety of the fact that the country was so bad. And now that the country has been cleaned up, you're saying that he can be sent back. Acknowledging the fact that he filed to come here to get away from the violence of the country. But to get around it, you're saying like, oh, no, well, you know, the country is cleaned up now, so what's the point? But yet you send him to an El Salvadorian prison where he was trying to escape from those certain kinds of people from. You put him in there with those kinds of people, trying to say he is one of those kinds of people, and he should have been expedited. There's so much trickery in the wording here. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. It's scary. It's scary because, I mean, like, homegrowns are next. You guys heard it, but how they're going to pull it off is exactly like this. And like maneuver you as a criminal. It's crazy.
But why not make that argument in court? If you think that you can make the argument that he is fine to go back to El Salvador, why not just make that argument and try to terminate that order that said that the one place he couldn't go to was the one place that he was sent to?
Look, again, I'm not litigating this case as DOJ. I think DOJ is continuing to litigate the case, but I think we're in a good stance. I think we're in a good place. Again, I'm not an attorney. I can just speak to my experience as a guy who enforces immigration law, but I think that DOJ has a strong case, and I think we're standing by what we did was the correct thing to do.
Has the Attorney General Pam Bondi, to your knowledge, attempted to revise that withholding removal order?
I have not spoken to Pam Bondi about this.
You mentioned the Justice Department. One thing that has been on my mind as we've been covering this is President Trump was in office in 2019 when an immigration judge granted this withholding removal status to Abrego Garcia. It was the Trump Justice Department then that decided not to appeal it or fight it. Do you believe that they should have here?
Well, the conditions of the country are different now than they were back then. Maybe the condition of the country is one that the withholding made sense. I mean, I wasn't familiar with the case back in the first administration, but a lot of things could have changed since then. The conditions of the country could change, the ruling could change, the facts of the case could change. I'm not familiar on the investigation, the removal from back in the Trump 45, but I'm sure DOJ is well aware of it and they're litigating it as they seem appropriate.
But are they litigating it? Because what we heard from the Attorney General essentially the other day was that it's out of their hands to have him return to the United States, that it's up to the president of El Salvador.
Well, that's a question for Pam Bondi. I know, again, DOJ has their mission, I have my mission. That's a question for her.
But you are someone who's worked in immigration for decades, and you have a view here that you believe that this was the right move ultimately to have him sent here. But wouldn't the proper stance here essentially be to contest this in court, to try to terminate that order and then have him sent, and then you wouldn't be in the middle of this massive legal fight that is playing out over where the administration's right is here and whether or not they violated a court order?
I don't think they violated court order. I think we did the right thing, and I think it's been litigated by DOJ, and I'll let them fight that out in court or not fight out in court. But I think we did the right thing. As far as what we should do next in judicial process or litigation, I'll leave it up to DOJ. That's their job.
But of course, you are someone who is at the center of the immigration fight and deporting people who are here illegally. This one individual.
How is that the center of immigration fight and all these? It's just, Kaitlan, no one asks these questions about the proper vetting of the millions of people the Biden administration pushed across the border, at least in this country.
Always. They never can fail going to the Biden administration. Deflection, 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 deflection. Keep the topic on Trump. Right now, did Trump violate a judge's orders? If he violated a judge's orders, it needs to be understood for citizens who don't believe in him like MAGA does. MAGA is just like they're a cult. They only believe what they don't want to listen to anything anybody says. The people who want to know are people are like, can he violate the law again to make it to where a homegrown citizen is sent to this prison? Can he violate the law in any way that he wants to? And it needs to be stopped. Point blank, period. Stop deflecting to the Biden administration. Stop doing it.
Illegally, no one's concerned about the vetting then. All of a sudden now everybody wants to be concerned about the vetting of people that even be deported. I mean, it seems like a one-side show, but I stand by the fact that I think things were done right with his case. He's an MS-13 gang member. He has a final order of removal. He is designated terrorist, and he's back in El Salvador, his homeland. And anything beyond that, we'll let the courts settle on him.
You say everything was done right here. And I heard Stephen Miller in the Oval Office on Monday also arguing that he was lawfully deported. But this administration has admitted in court that he was mistakenly deported, that he should not have been deported.
They absolutely have. They absolutely have admitted that. I wonder what he's going to say to this.
Look, it says that there's administrative error, but if you look at the case, if I look at the case as a non-attorney, just an enforcement officer, I think things were done right. Again, they're talking about, well, it might have been a paper error about the withholding. But if we look at the case and he designated terrorist, I think that withholding has been set aside. That is my opinion. But again, we'll let DOJ fight it out.
Well, I mean, the Solicitor General, it was the third in the chain of command at the DOJ, has said that this was an error.
Yeah, they did say that. Said it was an error. I'm curious.
Then I'll let them deal with it. I'm giving you my opinion. I said I'm not going to get in the middle of what DOJ is arguing in court. I'm telling you, from my stance, what we've done, I believe is correct, and that's why DOJ is standing by the fact that what we did was right.
You know, I've seen some people look at this and say they're worried that the stance of this administration when it comes to this is that if someone is deported by accident, that they have no responsibility for them once they are in the custody of a foreign government. What would you say to that?
Yeah, what would you say to that? I'm curious.
Well, they're in the custody of El Salvador. He's an El Salvadoran national. He was born in El Salvador. El Salvador has him in custody, and El Salvador decide what happened to him. I mean, again, the El Salvadoran president made it clear he's not going to release him. So again, I'm going to go back to DOJ. They're going to fight this out in the courts. As I'm not a part of that. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a prosecutor. So we'll let the courts decide what the next steps will be.
Even though it was
Just wait until the next president gets in and then that El Salvadorian president says that. It's because this president is not going to do anything about it. But the next president who has a problem with that is like, you might want to go get him. It's going to suck. It's going to be a 4-year wait, but definitely is something to think about. But it all depends on what the evidence in the case comes up to.
U.S. immigration judge who said the one place he can't go is El Salvador. I mean, he could have been deported literally anywhere else.
Again, we keep going back and back. But again, that was years ago. Country conditions were different. That gang no longer exists in El Salvador. He has been designated a terrorist since that time. 2 different federal judges said he's an MS-13 member. A police department said he's an MS-13 member. ICE status shows he's an MS-13 member. El Salvador says he's an MS-13 member. As you know, MS-13 has been designated terrorist. The case has, the facts of the case have changed since that first decision. So again, I'll leave it up to DOJ to argue that case in court, but that is where I stand, and that's my belief.
Yeah, it was 6 years ago, of course, when that happened under when Trump was in office, as I noted. In her ruling, the judge here, Judge Zinnes, that I quoted of Maryland, said, quote, no evidence before the court connects Abrego Garcia to MS-13 or any other criminal organization. You just argued yourself that you believe there is evidence of that. Why has that not been included in this? Why has the administration not made that argument, not just publicly on television, but in court?
Facts. No evidence has been proven, guys. He just proved it again. They're lying right to your face as if you're stupid. No evidence has proven that he's any of that, right? Which again is scary. Well, there is evidence. Like 2 different federal judges said he was an MS-13 member, immigration court. That's a part of the file. The file's there.
And I think yesterday the administration did release police reports on the subject being an MS-13 member and being involved with MS-13 activities, and even had rank within MS-13. I think some of those reports were released yesterday.
Man, I got to see the evidence on both ends, because he's saying one thing, she's saying another thing, judge is saying one thing, one judge...
Get this from. Who knows where he gets it from? It doesn't...
My bad, y'all. Oh. Anyways, yeah, I mean, it's just getting spicy. Interesting, we're going to keep learning about it. But hey, y'all. The more and more we learn, the more and more conversations can keep getting good. All right, y'all, I'm out. Peace.